So today's theme, joy and work. For those who might be joining us for the first time, I would like to explain that our teachings here are based on Master Ryuho Okawa's teachings. Master Ryuho Okawa is the founder and CEO of Happy Science, which is a whole group. It includes schools, a political party, a university, entertainment fields, a publishing company. It started in 1986, and it has spread rapidly all around the world. There are 12 million members, and he has spread his teachings by giving lectures. Already he has given over 3,000 lectures and 1,000 spiritual messages. And if you look at the content of these lectures and spiritual messages, I believe that you too would be in awe and in amazement that truly Master Ryuho Okawa is the living Buddha, is a savior, and is the core consciousness of Alcantara, which is the name of the Creator, God, the primordial Buddha, Allah, the central God of many religions and faiths around the world, here today to truly show us the way to a more brilliant future. So, today's topic, joy and work. I feel that it's very important to feel happiness at work because a lot of us are there for 5 days a week at least, from 9 to 5 at least. We are spending at least a third of our day, for many days, for many years at work. And if work only brought us misery, if we only felt as if work was a prison where we're there, we're waiting to get out of it so that we could finally enjoy life. If you're working to live, I feel like we are wasting a big chunk of our lives. And work can be in the form of unpaid work, such as domestic workers. There's many forms of work. But whatever that form of work is, I truly feel, and I have come to feel this way because of Master Ryuho Okawa's teachings, that simply by changing the way we look at work, we can discover the joy and happiness of it. And this is in the spirit of what is said in Chapter 1, The Mindset to Invite Prosperity, written in the Laws of Steel, 2020's Law Series book. Essentially, happiness exists within you. It is part of you and you already have it. Prosperity is, like happiness, an element that exists within you. It will follow you if you are determined to move forward. So even though you might think, I don't have any passion for my job, I don't like it, it wasn't something that I wanted to do, I have to do it to put food on the table, to live the life I want to do. No matter what that job may be, if you are getting paid for it, it means that somebody is benefiting from the work you do, the service you put out. And so in that job that you're doing, again, whatever it may be, happiness is already there. We just need to change the way we look at it so that we can find it. So here we go. Now, I understand that a lot of people think that in order to enjoy their work, they want to either work that feels like it is their purpose in life, or there's also a saying that if you do what you love, you will never work a day in your life. And so we try to think of, okay, what brings us happiness? What's fun to us? What do we do to play? What do we do for our hobbies? And we wish that we could turn that into our work. And we look at those who have managed to do that, and we feel as if they are the lucky few. But Master Okawa says something very interesting that differentiates play from work. and points out that there is a joy that you can only get through work. What does he mean by that? So let us imagine something that you do for fun, something that is enjoyable to you. Imagine doing that every day, day in and day out. How would you feel? Master Okawa says that play is great because it only lasts for a while. It's great because it kind of gives you a change, it relieves stress. But he says if you had to do it every day, it can get actually pretty hard and strenuous. Somebody like a professional tennis player certainly plays every day, but even though it's hard, it's rewarding to him. Or a master chess player. Master Okawa says that because a master chess player really puts himself on the line at every game and every tournament, that he feels himself rising to greater heights and feels the joy of being able to exhilarate his audience with moments when he can manage genius moves. So, the difference between play and work. He says, work has moments when it feels hard, but with work, the longer you continue it, you begin to discover the fun and joy of it. With work, the longer you keep at it, the more you see your skills improve, which results in better work, which then produces results. Work causes you to increase your skills, which then produces visible results. When you see that something that had only been inside of you go out and begin to touch others, it really brings you joy. The difference between play and work is that you are required to produce results. But that requirement, that difficulty, is what actually pushes you to improve your skills. And yes, it's hard, but when you persevere through that and you produce results, and when you see those results, it brings you a joy that only those who work hard can experience. This is actually a joy that the soul feels. So here at Happy Science, we talk about how we are not just our physical body. This world is not all there is. When we die, we discover that we continue to exist. That is because we were and are originally and essentially a spiritual entity, a soul, basically. That's our true essence. And so, yes, having fun in this world, the pleasure of eating, the pleasure of sleeping, the pleasure of relaxing, these are all joys, but there are more joys for the physical body. When we go over to the other world, when we return to the other world, which is our real home, heaven, we actually don't have a physical body anymore. So we don't have to fulfill the desires of our physical body. Instead, we discover the joy that the soul feels. What are those joys? The first joy the soul feels is when it is able to bring people joy by helping others. When someone says to us, "I am so glad you are here," or "Thanks to you, things went very well," we feel appreciated for the efforts we have made on behalf of other people. In these moments of delight, we are able to affirm the goodness and virtuousness within us. When other people benefit from our good deeds, we experience the effect of our contributions extending far beyond the limits of our own individual lives. Whenever this happens, our soul experiences the joy of expansion and self-improvement. This spiritual growth multiplies the value of our single existence many times over. One of the best ways to experience joy of the soul is to bring joy to those around us. And this ability to sense this joy of the soul, we can increase. There's another joy that the soul experiences, and that is when we discover something new. This is not the kind of knowledge found in school, but the kind we gain when we discover something profound about the wondrous world that God has created. To put it another way, this is spiritual knowledge. Every time we make a breakthrough, our soul is filled with joy. And what is this spiritual knowledge that this is talking about? These excerpts about the joy the soul feels is found in the 9 dimensions, in which Master Okawa describes to you what the other world, what heaven looks like, and what you will find yourself doing there when you get back. And what are all the angels and high spirits doing there? What is the relationship between that world and this world? Well, the joy of the soul, the spiritual knowledge that brings us joy for the soul, is the discovery that our thoughts really create and manifest in reality. Why? Because Master Okawa teaches that each of us, is a part of the Creator. We are a fragment of light of the Creator. That means that there is a Creator within us. We have the ability to create. Master Okawa explains in the book I Can that another way of thinking about this is to realize that when you have ardent and deep faith in God, your mind will combine to the heart of God in heaven. It means you have goodness, beauty, or truth in you. And to be a creator yourself means that because you can imagine a lot of things in you, well, this power, this ability to imagine means that you have the possibility of designing, building, and realizing your plan or your dream. Of course, you can't, like magic, snap your fingers and make something that you're imagining in your head right now to appear. In this world, unlike in the other world where you can actually, in this world you have to work at it. You have to put in the time, you have to put in the effort, but that is actually why we're here. That's the sort of soul training that what we come to do. That process actually helps us to gain greater wisdom, or in Buddhist terms, enlightenment, and that is the spiritual knowledge that we gain as we grow and we discover more and more about the wondrous world this God has created and the wondrous power that is within us, because God is our parent. In fact, the essence of work is creation. We all have the ability to create something new using the unique talents that each of us has. We are capable of producing a variety of objects from a single material. And this is in comparison to animals. In The Heart of Work, Master Okawa talks about how, yes, animals might work. For example, an otter will dive for clams, take a rock, uses a tool to break open the clam shell and eat. Isn't that working? Or a chicken lays eggs. Isn't that working? But Master Okawa said animals are only able to apply themselves to a certain set of tasks. They cannot, for example, a chicken can lay eggs, but it cannot cook eggs, it cannot trade eggs with something else, it can only do one thing. Whereas human beings, using the unique talents that each of us has, we can do many things with a single thing. We are in a blessed position to feel the same sense of joy that the primordial God of the great universe experienced at the time of creation. The essence of work is very closely related to the nature of human beings. God gave us the desire to work so that he could share his joy of creation with us. So please don't confine yourself to just working mundanely. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, you have the ability to generate, to create, to improve what you're doing so that you can benefit more people, thereby experiencing the joy of helping others. And also, when you do that, you experience yourself grow. That's another joy that your soul feels. Furthermore, we just don't do this without being rewarded. When God gave us work, He made sure that it didn't end there. He made it so that we get rewarded for good work. That reward might be monetary compensation, it could be better relationships, it could be a good reputation, a higher status, but it's also a spiritual joy. And why did God allow us to be rewarded? It's so that, let's say a chef is cooking food and he is a 3-star Michelin chef. If he didn't get, a high income and was only able to create luxurious foods but never partake in it, well, the motivation, well, let me say it this way. That Michelin 3-star chef, being able to be rewarded for the luxurious experience that he can give customers, will allow him to also experience greater, to go to expensive restaurants and try those foods, and that will stimulate him. He will be able to gain more ideas, more input that will allow him to be able to benefit greater people. And so it's a virtuous cycle. And so you could, Master Okawa says that God allowing us to be rewarded for our work is allowing us to savor the joy of our work and for us to have eternal motivation to keep refining and improving our ability to do work. And so because joy from work can be gained, the more we apply ourselves to it, the more wholeheartedly we apply ourselves to work. Master Okawa says, instead of working to live, live to work. Dedicate our lives to our work, because when we do, we experience the reward of spiritual joy. And regarding that, I would like to read from The Heart of Work. It says, we should dedicate our lives to our work, because by contrast, when we work half-heartedly, we feel a twinge of conscience or emptiness. We sense that something is not right. You may have heard a story about a prodigal heir who destroyed his family's wealth and position after he inherited a vast amount of money from his parents or took over the family business. In many versions of this story, the cause of the son's failure is his inability to devote his life to work. As a result, he feels empty inside. He tries to fill in the gap and gloss over his inability to work by immersing himself in the pursuit of pleasure, spending money lavishly until he finds himself bankrupt. People in this situation share a feeling of guilt for receiving compensation for work that they haven't staked their lives on. They try to stave off this guilt by fooling themselves. They stop thinking rationally and take on strange ventures to numb their senses. When we look out at the world, we see that those who stake their lives on their work rarely fail. Even Jesus Christ, who did not gain high social status or achieve financial success despite having completely devoted his life to his mission, was rewarded in the end. Jesus has been venerated and worshipped for 2,000 years, and this itself represents a tremendous reward for his work. The work we devote our life to will never go unrewarded, and when we receive this reward with gratitude, our soul will fill with joy. So in order for us to do good work, let us focus on producing results. Now, producing results, it sounds scary for some of us, but we have to face this reality that someone who doesn't seek results has no way of failing. Someone who doesn't fail has no way of self-reflecting. And without self-reflection, there is no progress. I can attest to that for myself. I've always been terrified of speaking. I've had some bad experiences growing up in school. And so I hoped that by just studying, I will maybe eventually become smart enough to be able to have a lot to talk about, and maybe speaking wouldn't be so terrifying anymore. For 10 years I did that. But Master Okawa says, you have to fight with real swords in order to truly improve. What he means by that was me just studying without ever really putting myself out there, testing to see if my studying is actually going to lead to my audience learning something and being inspired and feeling like, yes, they can change something about themselves. I had no way of failing. And I was not learning and I was not growing. I was simply practicing with a wooden sword instead of truly engaging in a real life and death sort of battle with real swords. And just practicing, it has created a foundation, but I really needed to put myself out there in order to really improve to a level where I can actually perform at the level that I hope and imagine to be. I'm definitely still in that process, but the improvements that I've seen in myself since actually putting myself out there is incomparable to the improvement that I was just slowly making over the 10 years in which I was too afraid to put myself out there. For those who are afraid, I understand failure hurts, but I hope that this poem gives you courage. Don't run away. This is a guide from the mind by Master Ryuho Okawa. Don't run away. In my youth, I troubled myself over little things. If I scored low on even one of my tests, I became sad. I got hurt at what people thought of me, and if I couldn't win people's approval, then I pretended I was bad and spewed my venom to self-actualize being hated by people. I was very sensitive, so I put myself down before others could hurt me. I drew feelings of inferiority toward myself, like an electromagnet does to iron sand. The source of electricity was my self-pity, the feeling of being sorry for myself. I solved nothing by engaging in self-pity and looking for sympathy. I was simply left behind in a solitary hell or a hell of strife. A voice said, "Don't run away." Fight the feeling to seek sympathy, to hate yourself, and to see yourself as inferior. It's a fight with yourself, not one against others. I followed that voice, and the road gently turned upwards. It's normal to feel discouraged after failure, and sometimes that feeling can linger for so long that you just don't want to put yourself through that ever again. But when you learn more and more of Master Okawa's teachings and understand how God has just so lovingly and patiently nurtured this world and has sustained life, sustained your life, not getting mad at you or not getting frustrated at you for failing and being afraid of failing again and putting off that moment when you challenge to try to put yourself out there again for more and more time, He patiently and lovingly waits for you to be able to muster the wisdom and the courage to give it another go. In fact, each of us, we don't have to be terrified of a horrendous failure that's going to finish us forever, because this world is a school for our soul. It's almost like we are training at a gym and our personal coach is right next to us, making sure that we don't attempt to lift a weight that might break our back. Our personal coach is our guardian spirit. And over the years, I have truly become able to trust that no matter what situation comes, even if I feel scared of it, I can tell myself it's okay. It's probably something that I can handle. And even if it goes badly, well, it's still something that I can handle. I can handle that failure. I've been able to trust myself to think that way because it has always been that way. I have, by faith and by knowing that we are guided and protected, been able to overcome all my failures and see them as nourishment. Nothing that is simply just has happened to punish us or to make us feel terrible. So Master Okawa's message is, do not give up on yourself too easily. As long as you keep walking, you are walking on the path to success. The reward of effort does exist. We just need wisdom, courage, and effort. Just those three things. Do not think hardship as hardship. Think of it as a train ticket to happiness. There is a joy waiting only for those who go through the hardship of gaining wisdom, courage, effort, and applying it. So you might think all this is going to require a lot of willpower. Well, if that's the case, here are 3 steps that can help you strengthen your willpower, which is actually not something that you are born with. It's actually something that we build over the course of our lives. This is also from The Heart of Work. So if this is something you feel you need to work on, I definitely recommend getting the book. Step 1 is actually use disappointment as a springboard. Master Okawa says that, if you have an event, a failure that has burnt you so badly, well, great. You have a bigger, stronger springboard. That feeling of chagrin from that failure, the deeper and stronger that is, it will continue to motivate you for longer in your life. Instead of you maybe hitting your peak in satisfaction at age 30 because maybe your disappointment is so deep, that becomes the driving engine that pushes you to aim for higher, greater heights, even at age 40, age 50, age 60, age 70, and so on. Step 2, reawaken your dreams. And step 3, dedicate yourself to the holy. Live as if you were in heaven, to live up to your potential. What I mean by that is, interestingly, you would think that resting and relaxing is what you get to do in heaven when you get back there. Well, in a spiritual message from Joseph Murphy, who is famous for, he's an American, he passed away in 1981, and he is very famous for speaking about the power of the subconscious mind. He is one of many Americans in the New Thought movement who have inspired people to understand that they have the power within themselves to create prosperity, to build their lives, to create their futures. And in the spiritual message, Joseph Murphy is asked, So where are you now? Because this was taken in some time in the 2000s or 2010s, 2013. He says, "Oh, it's a warm and a warm place full of light. It's very lightful, but yes, it's warm and very lightful. Do I live in a building? No, not really. In fact, because I don't have to. I don't need a roof over my head. I don't need a bed. I don't need a place to eat because we don't do any of those things. We don't sleep. We don't eat. In fact, we are working 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Maybe that's another form of hell," he jokes. He said, "if you want to sleep, well, you can, hell is the place for that. But here in heaven, you work 24 hours. And Master Okawa has also said in a lecture, Love and the Work of Angels, that he gave in Brazil, that angels are working 24/7. They have no rest. Why are they able to do that? Because they are light itself. They are a part of God's light, and God never takes a rest. God is always nurturing and sustaining life, and angels are doing his work, supporting him in that. And we too, being a fragment of that light, our true self is actually an energy that can keep giving, keep working, keep benefiting and helping others. And so if we think of living as if we were living in heaven, that will allow us to free our true potential. And what that means is basically living to work. Now, I would like to start wrapping up, but before I do, I would like to impart with you a few things that we can work on in order to build up our wisdom and know in what we should be focusing our effort on. So right now, Master Okawa is aware that a lot of people are finding themselves unemployed. A lot of businesses are closing. You may have been working at a job for 20 or 30 years, but also moving forward with the advent of artificial intelligence, a lot of people are feeling that their work is going to be taken over by AI in the future. And so we need to really be able to be flexible and fluid like water, to be able to change careers or develop a new expertise. And this ability is required of us no matter what our age is. I feel that Master Okawa's teachings on how we are not just our physical body, but in essence a spiritual entity, will give us the courage and the knowing that we can kind of start from zero again, no matter where we are. And how do we start from zero again? Well, Master Okawa cautions against depending on the government too much. Because the government, even if you look to the government for them to give you money, the government is getting money from taxes, which comes from businesses and people who are working to generate wealth. And so if less and less people are able to do that, and there are more and more people who are dependent on the government, that means there will be less wealth to go around, and that will mean more people in greater misery, including yourself, unless we can get ourselves to become one of those generators of wealth. How do you generate wealth? Well, again, because the key is to focus on results. What results should we focus on in business? It is to go to the basics, go back to the basics of business, which is you need to have people buy your products or services. We need to create customers, and then we need to retain customers, and then create more customers while working creatively to not to try to lose your existing customers. That's the key to growth. Unless you can generate a revenue that exceeds the cost of running your business or the cost of creating whatever service or product you're putting out, you cannot put food on the table. And with a bigger organization, when you start maybe having a partner or somebody who focuses on the creation part, or somebody who focuses on the selling part, or somebody who focuses on the administrative side of making sure everything is working well together. Well, Master Ka says those 5 elements make up the basic, I guess, unit of a business. But again, you need to be able to generate more revenue than the cost of paying for these people. So we have to always go back to the result we need to focus on. Are your customers buying your products and services? And are there more customers coming to buy them? And are you retaining the customers that come to you? How do we do that? Well, we tend to think of sales as having to have more passion or work longer hours or having to expose ourselves to more potential customers. But Peter Drucker, who is considered the father of management, says the aim of marketing is to make selling superfluous. And what does he mean by that? Master Okawa explains that it is to listen to your customers' complaints. You don't have to chase your customers. So if you want more customers or retain more customers, if you want your customers to buy your products, your customers have to be happy with what they're getting. And so listen to why they might be unhappy. This means that you have to listen to criticism, and a lot of us don't want to do that because we want the world to validate that who we are right now and what we're putting out is good enough. But if you truly understand the spiritual view of life, the reason why we are called to improve and to grow more and more is because this world is an eternal place. To stop at where we are, for the universe to tell us, you're good enough, you don't have to grow anymore. It's the other people who don't see the value of what you're putting out that's wrong. Then that means that there is no more growth for you. But you are given eternal life. And this fact that you have more room to grow, and that room to grow is infinite, actually means joy for yourself. So I think it definitely benefited me to help me change the way I look at criticism, change the way, change where I place my happiness in. My happiness no longer is in having other people validate that what I am right now is good enough. My happiness is in being able to grow, to receive criticism, feedback, and to be able to take that and put it into what I put out next. And the joy I gain is from seeing that, yes, I am progressing. All this is about being a creative person. A creative person is a person who assists or makes some effort to create a brave new world. You are required to make a lot of effort. This effort means to study Buddha's truth. In addition to that, you need to know a lot of new intelligence about this world. It's the beginning of a new world. So being creative isn't just about coming up with new ideas. It's about really creating something that has not existed in this world yet, or improving something, bettering something. If something is a waste, then stopping that, or making sure that something good continues to exist. Even decision making is creation. Even management is creation. Education is creation. Everything can be creation. And how do you do that? Well, Master Okawa says that you need knowledge and experience. If you feel that you've tried to create, to produce results, but you can't do it, it's not because you're not talented. It's not because you're not smart. In fact, Master Ka says, it doesn't matter. Your intelligence doesn't matter. It's just a matter of how much information, knowledge that you acquire, and then through experience have been able to turn that into wisdom. It's just a matter of whether you do that, building up that stock of knowledge, or you don't. That's all it comes down to. You either do it or you don't, he says. And I find that very encouraging because I always felt that I was not smart enough. I was always a little more slower. So to be told that I don't have to worry about that, all I need to do is just focus on building up that stock has been very encouraging for me. So that leads to the power of accumulation. So I hope this inspires you to know that there is something that you can do to change your future, to make it more brighter, starting today. It begins with just 10 to 15 minutes. Believe in the cumulative power, the cumulative effects of studying. Every day, each day, study 10 minutes or 15 minutes. This is a slow walk, and you can make a little result from that. But another day, another year, or 2 years, or 3 years shall pass like an arrow. So at that time, you will have become quite a different person. Every day is a new day. Even if you have failed to put aside 10 to 15 minutes to study Buddha's truth, which is these teachings from Master Okawa that we share through our activities here at Happy Science New York, that's so crucially important because that is what will allow you to identify what is the new value required and needed that people will want to buy and purchase in the future. But also for you to think about what knowledge do you need in order to do better work wherever you are. Whether you are a driver or a cameraman or an actress or whatever it is, you need to work on building up that stock of knowledge and then also experience as well. And in the beginning, you won't have a lot of experience, so you'll first want to stock up on knowledge, but over time, you'll gain experience. And then when knowledge and experience mix, that's when you get something potent, which is wisdom. That is something that will allow you to touch and affect people. That is what will create value that other people want, that they don't see anywhere else. So, in closing, I would just like for us to take a few moments in a simple, quiet meditation to think about, number one, how grateful we are to have work, or even if we're out of work, how grateful we are to be alive. Master Ka says, this era is abundant with resources from which we can study or learn to grow. So let us take a moment to be grateful for the circumstance that we are in. And that gratitude will allow us to receive inspiration and guidance. And also let us take a moment to imagine ourselves finding the 10-15 minutes of time in our life to be able to start accumulating this stock of wisdom. Because this is how we can change the trajectory of our life more and more and more. Okay. So please take a deep breath in. Let it all out. Relax your shoulders. Loosen any tension in your body. It helps that your body is relaxed in order for your mind to calm and relax. This harmonious mind allows us to connect with heaven, which will make it easier for us to feel gratitude and think positively and constructively about today, tomorrow, and our future. Allow your mind to calm and relax. Imagine it being a beautiful, round, golden orb around the heart area, or if you can, down in your tanden. And let us just allow us to visualize this beautiful, round, golden orb that is our mind, that is the center of our soul, for a while. And as we do so, you might start to feel light from heaven, warm light coming down into you. Please receive that with an open and grateful heart. And now let us put our hands together in prayer to symbolize the middle way and gratitude. And let us reflect on our circumstances and feel grateful. And think about how we can accumulate a stock of knowledge and wisdom to build ourselves up for the future in our daily lives. Please begin. And lastly, let us imagine ourselves enjoying those moments, savoring the joy the soul is feeling, of being able to grow, being able to know that our actions will contribute to the happiness of many people. And let us imagine ourselves savoring that joy as we take those 10-15 minutes to study or prepare for our future. Please gently open your eyes to end your meditation. So that was a very short meditation, but I hope that gives you an idea of what you can do at your home on a daily basis. I recommend reciting the true words spoken by Buddha to help you calm your mind. Oftentimes we can be stalled by feelings of I can't, or I really not worthy, or I'm really hopeless. Maybe something had happened to you in your day. Maybe somebody said something that made you feel that way. Reciting the true words spoken by Buddha can really help dissipate and evaporate those emotions so that you can go back to feeling harmonious, remembering that you are a creative energy and that your thoughts manifest. It's just a matter of holding on to it and also putting in the effort of accumulating wisdom, and so on and so forth. Wisdom, courage, and effort. Lastly, I would like to show you a video from our book ambassador, Annette, who will speak about the heart of work. As I said, the wisdom that you want to accumulate, no matter what your age, is Buddha's truth, number one, and number two, to any knowledge you need to become an expert in your present field or in a field that you want to move into. So I highly recommend starting your study of Buddha's truth if work is a main theme for you for this year by reading The Heart of Work. So let's hear from Annette. It's about 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Annette. I am the book ambassador for New York Temple. I hope everyone's doing well today. For today's book, it is The Heart of Work. In this book, there are many nuggets of wisdom about not only in becoming a better worker, but to find out what do you need to work on the inside to become a better worker. What do you have to figure out in the inside to even find your calling in work? But before I go into all of that, I'd like to address the one question. Why do we work? What is the point? Why do we have to work? And many people will easily can say, oh, it's because it gives me monetary compensation. It allows me to live the life that I want. It allows me to provide for my family. These are all still very valid aspects of the reasoning why we work. These are still valid. But the real big reason as to why we're allowed to work as human beings is because not only we get the opportunity, it's an opportunity, not just a thing we have to do, but an opportunity to give back to society, to give back to other people. And the even bigger reason is when we work, we get to experience moments where we can understand what God was thinking about when he created human beings. When we work, we create. When we work, we innovate. When we work, we are learning new things. This is what God had to go through in order to make human beings. You think God made one batch of human beings and that's it? He just let them go on? No, he had several radiations of different types of human beings living on Earth. He had to experiment. He had to figure out what he wants his human to be. But because God spent so much time creating, this is why we have enormous diversity in our world today, right? So just think about like how much humans had to change throughout the centuries. You think they were going to stay the same, but it did not. Like, look at the life we are living right now. We have all this technology and we have all these useful resources now to make our life a little easier. Back then, 100 years ago, some of our technology didn't even exist. So really think about what God was thinking. Like, I'm gonna make this kind of person or I'm gonna make that kind of person. Understand that God did not throw anybody away. He gave every single, you could say, experiment an opportunity to be a human being on Earth and to experience soul training. So one of our ways to go through soul training is through working, because human relationships contribute to society, as I mentioned before, different work styles, different knowledge, different aspects to help others in your own life from your work. So see how that work is kind of like a pivotal part just in our soul training in itself and how we actually grow as people. Another thing to wonder, if you're doing a job that you're not in love with, how about if you're doing a job that you just don't feel fulfilled in anymore? There are times when people do experience this. Only very few people are very fortunate to find their calling very early on and they stick to it for the rest of their life. And now it's more common than ever, and people tend to switch careers. This is a wonderful thing because people want to grow and people want to change and people want to develop their skill set. There's nothing wrong with this. But the important thing with work is that when you find your calling and the job that you're doing are as one, you're halfway through your mission. The way we talk about missions in Happy Science is basically your calling, what you're meant to do on this planet before you pass away. What kind of impact you're meant to have on this planet before you pass away. So it's important to really have time to even think about what your true calling is. And in order to have this calling, you have to understand what gets you excited to do it. You know, what gets you feeling that surge of energy flowing through you. So that's something to think about if you're going through a time in your life where you're not 100% in love with your job. However, if you are working in a job that you're not in love with, the best possible way, as in this book taught, it's to still have some level of enthusiasm when you're doing your job and be resourceful, be helpful as you can be, and also have immense gratitude that you at least have a job. At least you have work to do. If you did not have it, then what would your life be like, right? So really think about that outcome. If you didn't have it, then what are you gonna do? What kind of lifestyle would you not have? So when you go back to gratitude, I actually believe this. If you go back to gratitude, whether you're working in a job you love or not, you actually want to find your true path while you are in wherever circumstances you are right now in this life. So that's the end for my talk on this book. I highly encourage for people to take a look at this book. I know we're in the middle of a recession period, and the thing is, these tips will not only help you find a job, it will help you to keep a job. So I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you some other time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Annette. I'm sorry that I didn't switch soon enough over to her video. I thank Annette for bringing up a very important topic, which is about finding your calling, which is actually the first key to be able to devote yourself to your work. And contrary to popular belief, everyone has a calling. Everyone, without exception. Everyone came into this world with a purpose and a mission. So you do have a calling. And if you are able to find your calling, you're halfway toward fulfilling your mission in life. So please, if you have come across this Sunday service, really dive into Happy Science teachings to find why you are here. And that is how you will truly be able to find your greatest joy in life. So that is all for today. You can get this book at okawabooks.com or here at our temple on 79 Franklin Street. Those who will be joining our ritual prayer service, monthly ritual prayer service, it will begin from 1 o'clock. And the Zoom ID is our regular New York Zoom ID. So I hope to see you then. Thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to you joining us next week. Yushi will be leading the Sunday service on success and happiness.